Okay, we are ready to go. This event is an event of the Young Reviewers program. As you know, is a program within the IEEE Robotics and Automation Society. This is the Young Reviewer program team. So I'm Marta Lorenzini from the Italian Institute of Technology in Genova, Italy, and I'm the chair of the Young Reviewer program. Today, together with my colleagues, so Paolo Robuffo Giordano from CNRS IRISA in France, Marta Lagomarsino from the Italian Institute of Technology as well in Genova, Italy, and also Marco Morales Aguirre from the Instituto Tecnológico Autónomo de México and the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. We lost this event, and we hope that you will enjoy it. We have also a couple of other advisors in the program. So Arasha Giordani from the same institute have Marta and myself, and Nessia Amato from University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. So, which is the mission of the Young Reviewer program? We want to introduce the Robotic and Automation Society young members to the best practices in peer reviewing of scientific paper. So what we want to to establish is a mentor-mentee relationship in which senior reviewer that are actually reviewers that has been reviewer from a while, let's say, so they have experience in reviewing, they've done more than 20, 25, 30 reviews in their life. Help and supervise junior reviewers in understanding and learning how to do a review. So how does it work? Whenever the senior reviewer receives a review to be done, he or she can assign it to a junior reviewer. The junior reviewer, of course, we meant with junior reviewers a young researcher, they don't know how to do it, so the job of the senior reviewer in this case is to teach to the junior reviewer how to do the review, so to make them understand how to evaluate a paper, how to write a review, how to use the right language and the right constructive, let's say, way to do it. And then, of course, the junior reviewer can understand how to do it. The senior reviewer, sorry, can teach to more than one reviewer about how to do it, and so on. But let's go more into the details of the process. So this was the general overview, let's say. But to go more into the detail again, as you know, when we do a submission within the Robotic and Automation Society, the platform is Paper Plaza. So traditionally, how does it work? The associate editor sends a reviewer to be done to a senior reviewer. The reviewer accepts it and then provide the review to the associate editor. This is the plain procedure. In the Young Reviewer program is slightly different. So whenever the senior reviewer accepts a review to be done, he or she can involve a junior reviewer in the process. So we have a website, a platform. Marco actually will talk about it in the next presentation, in which the senior reviewer can choose a junior reviewer from a pool of applicants of the program. How? By selecting some keywords. So whenever a junior reviewer applies for the program, have to provide some keywords related to their field. And then the senior reviewer can select them based on these keywords. Then the senior reviewer can send the paper to be reviewed by email. So the communication is done by email. This is pretty important because the website is not used for this type of communication. The junior reviewer may accept or not, of course, the request, the collaboration, and then the real process starts. So the senior reviewer mentors the junior reviewer, providing guidelines, correction, support. It's an iterative process in which the junior reviewer and the senior reviewer together create this review. Then when they finalize it, when the review is ready, the junior reviewer can provide the review to the senior reviewer, and then again, the senior reviewer can send it to the associate editor for being finalized as a review. And of course, the Young Reviewer program involvement in the revision of this paper, in the reviewing of this paper, can be communicated to the associate editor, maybe through the cover letter or other means. Some remarks. So, serving as a senior reviewer will not increase the number of papers that the senior reviewer is asked to review, because only the paper that the senior reviewer has already accepted to review would be eligible for the program. The communication, as I said before, between the junior reviewer and the senior reviewer in doing the review is done by email. So we made this in a way to speed up the communication between them, to make it easy and quick. And this is actually, as I said, in order not to increase the reviewer workload. The time a senior reviewer would normally spend writing a careful review, because actually this process takes time, would be invested instead in developing the skill of the junior reviewer. Of course, it may take a bit more time to help a junior reviewer to learn how to do a review, but the senior reviewer will not lose his or her time. The time will be invested in teaching to a junior researcher how to do the research, basically. Once the required skills are obtained, a junior reviewer can be graduated and become a senior reviewer. Last remarks, I will tell this because many people are actually asking this to us. Everyone can apply. So there are not prior requirements from junior reviewer. Even people that are outside the RAS society can actually apply to the program, even if probably it makes more sense that are at least in the RAS community. But of course, reviewing experience is expected from senior reviewers. So senior reviewers are accepted based on the fact that they prove the reviewing experience, while everyone can be a junior reviewer, basically. What actually we want to do with the Young Reviewer program, we want to go even farther, this first mission that I explained. So in general, our objective is to assist and guide the RAS member to the best practices in peer reviewing of scientific paper. So what we also do is to offer events as the one we are actually participating in now, and offer also direct support on several topics related to review. So RAS review process, the best practice guidelines for reviewing scientific paper, ethical and responsible use of AI tools, and explanation of the double anonymous review workflow, and so on. We will talk about these topics actually during this event. And please note that a video recording of this event will be made available afterwards and will be made publicly available. So everyone will be able to access it. So if you miss some details, no worries, because we will have recordings of the event. So regarding the RAS review process, I will be quick. So actually, RAS provides essential resources and guidelines related to conferences, journals, magazine, submission processes. Everything you need is on the RAS website. So I provided you with the two main links that brings you to the conference section and journal section. But if you go to the link and you read on the RAS website, you really have everything you need. But of course, if you need some more explanation or you want some more details, you can write to us and we will try to support you. This is another thing I want to mention, because many people are sending email to us to ask for this, and is about serving as a reviewer. So to be selected as a reviewer for a conference or journal in general, in the RAS community, wherever, the program is not related to being a reviewer in general. It's only related to this thing of the mentor-mentee relationship, junior reviewer, senior reviewer. Because in order to be selected as a reviewer in general, these are some of the things you have to do. So you have published in the same conference or journal, you are recognized as an expert in the topics of the conference or journal, you'll be in contact with the editorial board of the conference or journal. So these are some ways in which you can become a reviewer. But unfortunately, we cannot help you to be selected as a reviewer directly from the conference journal. So the Young Reviewer program is not in charge of the reviewer selection. There is a dedicated editorial board. Apart from this, this is the agenda of today's event. So this was the introduction by myself. Then there will be a presentation from Marco about the new Young Reviewer program website, because we actually renewed a lot our website, and Marco will present it. We'll explain you how to use it, and also we'll talk about the launch of the new cycle. Then we will have Marta talking about some of the hot topics in the reviewing, let's say, context, so the use of AI tools and the double anonymous reviewing. And finally, we will have Paolo explaining you how to review a scientific paper. So he will do a very nice presentation giving you the guidelines about how to do a review. I will end my presentation mentioning you a very nice workshop that is going to be held at ICRA 26. That will be Monday, June 1st, 2026, of course. ICRA this year will be in Vienna, Austria. And this workshop with the title, The Good Reviewer, Shaping Up Peer Review in the Robotics Community, will be a very nice event in which also the Young Reviewer Program team will participate on the topic of reviews. So this is the schedule. On the top right of this slide, you have also the link to the website of the workshop. As you can see here, we will have very VIP in the Robotic and Automation Society from Tania Masfour, Serene Valdi, Ken Goldberg, Antonio Bicchi, Nadia Figueroa, Jeanette Bogg, Aude Billard, and also Javier Sivera, Tobias Fischer, and they will talk about, let's say, topics in the team overview. The workshop will be very interactive, so there will be a lot of occasion to have discussion. There will be really many, panel to discuss the topics that are currently the open challenges in reviews. And also this event will be recorded, and the recordings and all the material related to the event will be made publicly available to the participant, but I would say to everyone. My presentation is finished. I leave the floor to Marco to present you the new Young Reviewer Program website.
Thank you, Marta. I will share my screen.
Sure.
Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, great. I will talk about the application system for the Young Reviewers Program. So this system is already open. We are launching a new cycle today. That means that everyone who is interested in continuing participating in the program will have to apply either as a junior reviewer or as a senior reviewer. If you've already had participated in the program before, we'll reach out to you, send you emails so that you can come and fill out your application, and you may already be familiar with the system. Also, if you're familiar with the system, there were significant changes in the system, mostly to clean up some of the instructions that were around there and some of the labels in different sections so that you can navigate the system easily. Just as a reminder, Marta, you already discussed the process, but just to give you a reminder of how it works, both junior and senior reviewers apply to the program. In this case, they'll have to go to this interface and provide their information. Then once they have applied and filled out their application, an admin, a member of the team will go through the applications and approve both junior and senior reviewers to participate. Then the next step is that the senior reviewers can find junior reviewers in this database to mentor. And this is where the work starts. It happens outside the system, mostly through emails. The senior reviewer working with the junior reviewer. And once the review is done, then the senior reviewer comes back to the system to evaluate the junior reviewer and provide feedback. So this is the main interface for an example applicant to a junior reviewer. There are instructions, the same instructions that you see here. You can find the instructions here. So this is a reminder for you. Then once you log into the system, you will find this button where you can create your new application. If you had participated in the program before, you may still be able to look at your previous applications, but here you will need to create your new application. That's how you apply to participate in the program. And the information that you provide is, once you click on this button, then you will have an interface that will have different sections that you will need to fill out. On the top over here, you'll see the sections that you can fill out, but you can just scroll down to keep uploading the information for each section. an important point to notice is that each section has a submit button. And so in order to submit a section, you submit a section at a time. And once you have submitted all the required sections, which are indicated with a red asterisk, then your application is complete. So you provide basic information, general information, your name, email, affiliation, and your URL. And then what is your current status, whether you are, for junior reviewers, whether you are a master's student, a PhD student. For senior reviewers, if you are a faculty, or if you are at the industry, that's the status. Then you provide your Paper Plaza PIN number here. And this is the interface for junior reviewers. So junior reviewers are asked about some paper that has already been published. This is not a required field, but if you have had this kind of experience, it would be useful for checking your application. And then you can provide your areas of interest. These areas of interest are typically keywords that are used for papers in RAS publications. And these are very important because that will make it much easier for senior reviewers to find relevant junior reviewers on the areas that of interest related to the papers. So next, you upload CV, and that's all your application. Once you have submitted all these fields, your application is complete. And that's how you apply as a junior reviewer. Then this is how the senior reviewer application looks like. The same as with the junior reviewer, there is a button here. We don't see the button for the 2026 cycle, but it is open already. And we can see a status of applications for previous cycles, but you will see the same for the current 2026 cycle. Here you see the instructions. Here you see the link where you can follow to look at the database of junior reviewers, and then you create your application. After you create the account, you create the application, you provide the general information, and then you can follow these links. So how does the senior reviewer application looks like? It is a little simpler than for the junior reviewer. It also asks for basic information, then your membership number for IEEE RAS, and your paper accept PIN, and your CV. And that's all the information that you need to provide. Then you submit all this information, and your application is done. After this is where the admin, the staff from the team reviews the application and marks them as approved. So once you have been approved as a participant, as a senior reviewer, you can follow the links at your homepage to go to the junior database. Let me go back again just to show you where this link is again. It is here. You can click here or here. Both point to the same place, and that will take you to this database. Here we're looking at the admin interface. The admin interface is the one who is going to change the status of the application to approved. Once it is changed to approved, then the senior reviewer can go to the junior database, and a senior reviewer will have these search fields. You can find people by names, but probably the most useful field is this research interests field, where you can start writing the area, and you will see a bunch of options that are matches to the string that you type. So if you type there like motion planning, you will find that list is going to reduce to a few options. You can select those options, as many as you want, and then you can search. Once you click on search, there is going to be a new list under this box. You will see the list of the junior reviewers that you can work with. I will show you how they look like in a minute. But just to summarize, approved senior reviewers can see the approved junior reviewer applications, search based on research interests, and provide evaluations also for junior reviewers once they have finished working with the junior reviewers. Again, the senior reviewer works with the junior reviewer outside the system through emails, receiving their reviews, providing feedback. But after the review is complete and submitted to the venue, then you can provide feedback for the junior reviewer here in the system. Here it says email, but you can provide it here directly in the system. So let me show you the next part. So this is one example of one applicant that as a senior reviewer you can look at. I mean, it is a full list. You can see the full list, but this is just one example. Here you have several fields where you can provide your feedback. You have a button to view the applications, a button to provide feedback to the junior reviewer, and a button to provide confidential comments about junior reviewer that are only visible for admins. When you click on view, what you will look is the application of the junior reviewer, their CV, all their basic information and research interests. When you click here on feedback to the junior reviewer, then you will see this screen that you will see a screen like this, and you can here click on edit to provide the feedback, and these are the fields that you fill out. All of these fields are visible to the junior reviewer. The main feedback can be provided on this text box, and then we would like to keep track of the papers that you have that you have shared and worked with the senior reviewer, with the junior reviewer, by just listing them in this way. You can just, this is an example, you can provide the conference name, the paper name and number, and the date when you, it doesn't have to be the full date, it can be year and month, maybe, in which you worked with the junior reviewer for this process. And then once you click on confidential comments, again, you can click here on edit, and then you will have this other interface where you can type your confidential comments and submit them. So that's the general interface for the senior reviewer. And then, again, just this is all that I have. I can show you the website also, but this is kind of the summary of the system. And again, we have instructions at different places and the links that you can follow to complete each of the steps in this process. And I'm open for questions, or we can do it later. I don't know, how do you want to do it, Marta? But that's all that I have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marco. Very nice and clear presentation. I think we can keep the question for later. Maybe we can put them all together because we are also already a bit late with respect to the agenda. So maybe we can have this question and answer session at the end of the event. I wanted to add that we will launch a new cycle of the program the next days, tomorrow if we are able to do it, otherwise in the next days, because the current cycle was from 2022. So we will launch the 2026 cycle, and we will also send emails to the people that are already approved in the program if they want to keep their participation, let's say. Other than that, all the people that want to join it can apply on the website that Marco just presented, and everyone here, everyone is welcome to join the program. Okay, I will leave now the floor to Marta, that will deepen a bit a couple of topics that are hot topics in the review context at the moment. So please, Marta, go ahead.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Can you see my screen? Okay, perfect. So in the next few slides, I will present how to use responsibly AI tools and how the double anonymous review process was recently adopted. So starting from the usage of generative AI for reviewing scientific papers, I will report you the general rules that RAS provided to us on the website, and you can read scanning the QR code on the bottom right of the slide. Here I will summarize the main points. In particular, we need to know that it's strictly prohibited to uploading the manuscript that we receive for the review by the associate editor on AI tools. So you cannot use AI tools for, of course, generating the review text, but also you cannot upload the manuscript to summarize the content of the paper or analyze the content of the paper. Why RAS decided to put this rule? Because this violates the confidentiality agreement that you have with the associate editor. Indeed, the public AI models can learn from the manuscript content, and this indeed violates the confidentiality agreement that you have with the associate editor and with the editor-in-chief of the journal or conference. In case the associate editor identified that you used or created a review using AI tools, he or she can report you to the IEEE RAS Publication Ethics Committee or the IEEE Publication Committee. The second topic we wanted to highlight is the double anonymous review process. As you probably know, starting from the 1st of April 2025, all IEEE RAS fully sponsored journals adopted the double anonymous review process. What does it mean? This means that neither the author and the reviewers know each other's identities. And the goal of this policy is to eliminate any personal biases related to factors like gender, seniority, reputation, or institutional affiliations. So when you are preparing your paper, you should ensure when you submit the paper on the platform to remove any reference to your name and the affiliation, both in the manuscript and in the appendix or eventually in the supplementary material of your paper. Of course, you should remove acknowledgement to projects as well. So I will provide just a summary of the main items you should consider, but of course more details are available on the website. Moreover, it is suggested to reduce at minimum the self-citations in case they are important for the presentation of your work. You should refer to those as previous works without mentioning that that was your previous work. Of course, you have to remove logos, names, and the figures and videos. You have to blur faces. You should avoid links to external repositories that can be connected to your identity or affiliation. There are on the website there also a suggestion to use an anonymization tool for doing that. On the other hand, it is allowed to upload your preprint on platforms such as Archive or Zenodo. But as a reviewer, you should avoid, of course, to search for the paper online to identify the authors. Finally, it's important to remove the name of robots if the robot used is not a widely recognized robot like now Spot, the Franca Panda, and so on. So if you have your prototype, you should avoid using the name you assign to that prototype. In case the associate editor recognized that there was a failure in anonymizing the paper, you will get a desk rejection. Those were like the main insights I wanted to give it to you. But if you have any question, of course, in the later section, you can ask me, and I'm more than willing to reply.
Okay, great. Thank you very much, Marta, for giving us more information on this super important topic that are actually, I think, the most important one in the reviewing process at the moment. Now it's the moment of Paolo. Paolo, are you ready for your presentation?
Absolutely. Hi to everyone.
Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
So let me share where it is. Oh. Can you see
Yes, we can see it.
the
Thank you, Paolo.
slides? Okay, perfect. So yeah, thanks for having organized and managed everything so far. So I give my user presentation that I already given many times. I hope it's not a repetition for someone in the audience about how to review a scientific paper. A lot of stuff has already been said by the previous speakers. So the slides will be made available after, I think. So this material, you can also access it. And in making these slides, I took some inspiration from this material, which is freely available online, and I encourage you to have a look if you're interested in this topic. So why reviewing? So reviewing is in science and research is mainly for quality control. Right? So we of course everyone can send something to the archive, but without quality control we cannot really understand if what has been done is of value or not. Okay? So it is something which is a necessary, I will say, service that we as a community have to provide for ourselves, for not just for ourselves, but for society at large, for the advancement of science and research. Okay? So it's also, if you want, a way to help the authors, because maybe you may have seen it if you already submitted some papers, they got some reviews. I mean, sometimes the reviews may be, I don't know, bad, but sometimes you get comments, insights, criticism also that make you think, because they can raise a point you didn't think about. So the reviewers may be right. So this is also a great way to understand how to improve your work on the technical side, but also in the presentation part. Because for me, for example, many times it has happened that the reviewers told me something like, I didn't understand this point, or I understood this, which was not what I wanted to say. But the problem is that I wasn't able to communicate the message, not the reviewers. It was not the reviewers' fault. So it's really a good way to also improve how you present and write your papers. And then, yes, for society at large, as I said, this is something that we have to do as a community. So it's I feel it as an obligation, at least personally, for the fact that I have the privilege to work in research. So I'm paid to work and to do what I like. So this is a little bit of work that I give back to the community, and for me it makes perfectly sense. So it is not a perfect system, of course, but I mean, you can help it to improve it, and I also make some examples, some typical examples of why people complain in general and what can be done, okay, to improve a little bit the situation. So what is the typical flow chart on when you receive a review invitation? So you receive an email that someone, an editor or associate editor, invites you to review, and then you should go through this kind of questions for yourself. So do you have the appropriate expertise for reviewing the paper? Of course, if the paper is really out of scope, because maybe you were selected, wrongly selected by the editor, then you should decline. Do you have time? So this is something that you really have to consider very well, because it's easy to accept something which has to be done in 2 weeks or 3 weeks, but then you must have time to do it, because many times you arrive at the deadline, you discover you didn't have time. And also, do you have a conflict of interest? Now, with the double blind, it is more complicated to maybe to understand if you have a conflict of interest. It was much easier with the single blind. But if you suspect or you understand that you have a conflict conflict of interest with the paper, of course, you should also decline or anyway inform the editor. And note well that when I say decline, it is decline quickly. So this is a very important point. If you decline or accept, you have to do it quickly, because the more time you take, the longer it will take for the review process to complete. And then the authors will rightfully complain because they will say that the decision is arriving late. But it's arriving late very often because we, as a community, we are late in our decisions. Okay? And also, if you decline, of course, you can also suggest other names in case you know of some colleagues that you think who will do a good job. Otherwise, you accept also quickly, so that the editor knows that one reviewer is secured. And then in general, you may have a first read of the paper. You can skim through the paper, and then sometimes, at least in journals, in conferences, maybe a little bit less, I don't know, but in journals it is possible sometimes to also propose an editorial reject in case you think that the paper is really too weak. If you think that the paper is too weak, it will never make it, you can suggest an editorial reject to the editor, and then the editor may agree with you, and then you can propose your thoughts. Otherwise, if you think that the paper can make it through, or at least it's not so weak that it doesn't deserve to go out for review, then of course you do your full review, you read the paper in a thorough way, and then you write the full review. All right, then what is the typical template of review? So it's nice to have a brief summary of the paper, like if you were writing your own abstract of the paper. And this helps a lot to understand, it helps a lot the authors to understand what you understood. Because again, many times, maybe the authors didn't explain something well, or you understand something different. So this is an important point that for me should always be present in review. Then you make your comments that summarize your opinion, but you don't have to include, this is also a typical mistake, especially from young reviewers. You don't have to include your recommendation in the review. You don't have to say, this paper, for me, this paper can be accepted, or for me, this paper should be rejected, or whatever. This is not your decision. So you give your comments, and that's it. Then the editor will decide if the paper is accepted, rejected, or revised, or resubmitted. Okay? It is not up to you. Then, a list of minor details, whatever. Okay? So now, some guidelines. You should try to comment about what is the contribution of the paper, in your opinion. If the authors are able to explain the significance of the paper, why it matters in view of the existing literature in your field, if the paper is well written and organized, if the introduction makes it clear what is the purpose of the paper, okay? If the references are completely relevant, otherwise you can, of course, suggest references. If the paper is not technically sound, you should explain why, precisely where, not just say something generic like the paper is wrong. Okay? And if the paper is too long, you should also say exactly how it could be shortened, in your opinion. Okay? So again, other suggestions, it's important to review the whole paper, not just a part. So this is a classical example that I've seen several times. The reviewer in the review, it mainly focuses on one point. For example, the literature review. It starts criticizing that the authors didn't cite this paper, they didn't position against this other paper, and so forth. And this is the main point of the review. Now the paper gets revised, and the author, of course, they think that this is the only point that they have to do because this is the feedback that they got. Then they fix the review, the literature review, the positioning, but this was not the only point. And then now you are in a difficult position because you cannot say to the authors, you didn't do your job. They did, it's just that you didn't explain exactly all the points that they have to address. Okay? Then another very important point, which is obvious, of course, the reviewers must be anonymous. This, it is clear to everyone that the review is anonymous. Something which is sometimes is slightly more difficult to do is to, let's say, resist the urge of suggesting too many works of your own, of your own group. So this happens. It's a human thing. So you get a paper about something on which you are working on. It is a topic that you are expert on it. You are working on this topic. And the authors are not citing your papers or are not citing well your papers. Now, of course, you feel this this urge to tell the authors, you didn't cite this and that paper of mine, which are, of course, the most important works in this field, okay? But this is not, I mean, if you do this, of course, you are revealing your identity because it will be very clear who you are. So you should try to resist this point. I mean, it's okay to suggest a couple of papers from you, but always balance them with papers from someone else because otherwise, yeah, you break the anonymity. Then reviews should be respectful, or don't be harsh, sarcastic or whatever. I mean, you are talking to colleagues, and especially very often you are talking to young students or young researchers who are at the beginning of their career, and receiving a harsh review or sarcastic review, it can really hurt. And yes, so don't do it. Be respectful. There's no need to disrespect the authors, and also try to highlight what are the positive points of the work, because maybe there are also positive points, and also encourage the authors to go on if you think that the direction is a good direction. Then other suggestions, always be specific, concrete, and factual in your comments. Okay? So some examples. You may say something like, this idea or this algorithm has already been considered in many previous works. Point. But this is not enough. If you say this, you have to say which works and what parts of the algorithms has already been considered and why. Okay, it's not enough to just say this generic sentence, because with this generic sentence, the authors will not know exactly what you mean. They cannot reply. They can just reply something generic. Or you can say, the idea algorithm should be compared against alternatives, but then you have to say which alternatives. And I have a slide, next slide. Also, another point here is the comparison feasible. So I have another slide, just next. Then the paper is too long, it should be shortened. Then where and how, you must be specific. Technical content is not correct. Where and why. You cannot just say the paper, math is wrong. You have to say exactly where you think it is wrong and explain why. So comparison, of course, comparison is at the basic of science and research. There's no doubt about it. Now, I will say reasonably, the only difficulty here is that since in general with journals, you have a limited amount of time for submitting a revision. For example, take RAL. RAL is an example that many people know. When you get the revised resubmits, if I'm not wrong, you have 1 month, maybe something like that, 1 month and something to revise the paper. Okay? Now, in 1 month, you can only do what you can do in 1 month. So you cannot, if you start saying you didn't compare against this and that algorithm, it will be unfeasible for the authors to do such a large comparison in a limited amount of time. Also, another point is that if you start asking for comparisons with something which exists, an algorithm that exists only in a paper, but the code is not available, again, imagine if it is easy or feasible for someone to read a paper and re-implement from scratch an algorithm that could be very, very complicated, and maybe where the authors of that paper spent, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 months, 1 year to make it work. So how can you ask it to do it if an implementation is not available? And if the implementation is not something simple, of course, it's not something straightforward. So yeah, use your grain of salt when asking or judging too harshly for a comparison, because sometimes the comparison can be unfeasible. Okay? So just want to make this point. So don't let your judgments be affected by names affiliation. Now with double blind, of course, this problem should somehow disappear. Then the technical complexity. Now, sometimes you get papers which are very, very hard on math, and you may be somehow scared or feel, you don't want to say something bad about it because maybe you're not following up the details. I mean, don't be intimidated. If a paper is very technically complex, but anyway, the problem it is solving is not important, it's a measure flow. Okay? Doesn't matter that technically it is wonderful. And then try to balance the judgment between the technical correctness and significance. So this is something that comes with time, because in general, when you are young reviewers are very, very good at picking on the math, the technical part, and judging whether it is correct or not. But of course, it takes experience and takes reading a lot of papers and meeting with people and looking what the other people are doing to judge the significance of something. So is the work significant with respect to what has already been done in the community so far? So always be careful to keep these 2 points in mind. Okay? And also consider that the paper can bring a contribution in many forms. Okay? So it can propose an algorithm that solves a known problem, which was not solved. It can revisit a known problem, but from a different angle, and this brings some new insights. Okay? It can propose a novel comparison or experimental validation that can be of interest for the community. It can describe a new system. Okay? So the contributions can be different for a paper, not just the technical part. Now, novelty and difficulty. So this is the point that I also took from some of the material that I mentioned at the beginning. So it is always hard to judge novelty versus difficulty, because something novel doesn't have to be always hard. Okay? So if the idea is very good but nobody had it, then when you hear it, maybe the idea is simple, but it is the first time that someone thinks about it. So it's still a contribution, even if the idea maybe is not the most complicated one, if nobody thought about it before, and of course if the idea is also significant. Okay. So also there is some kind of trade-off between novelty and surprise. When you hear something that you didn't think about before, it's a surprise, but then it becomes obvious. But you didn't think about it in the first place. Okay. And also there is some kind of balance that you have to keep in your mind between novelty and usefulness. So something, sometimes you can make a comment about, yes, the idea is novel, but for me, nobody will never use it, or it will be worthless. This can be true, of course. I will say, just think twice or thrice about this point, because you never know. Sometimes you may think that something will be useless, but then you never know in research, maybe at some point it will become useful. So I'm not saying that everything is useful, just think about it 2 or 3 times before, rejecting or criticizing a paper on this argument. And then if you're really convinced, of course, you can go for it. And also about novelty, be careful with the evolved papers, even if now with the double blind this is less of an issue, because of course if you are reviewing an evolved paper for the journals who still have this model, the novelty has to be, let's say, weighted against the fact that there is a previous version of a conference version which has already some material of the paper that you are reviewing. Okay. So another important point is that when you review, you have in general 2 main entries, the entry for your review and another entry for confidential comments to the editor. Okay? So this confidential comment box is a very useful box that you should use whenever you feel that you want to tell the editor something that you don't want to say in the review. Okay? About opinion, doubts, information that you find relevant but you don't want to disclose to the author. So really use it without any problem. For example, you may think that the authors are doing some plagiarism on some authors' works or on their own work, but you don't want to say this in the review because you're not sure and you cannot really judge, but you can inform the editor with the confidential comments. Okay. You can inform about other works that should be considered, but you don't want to list them in the review. Okay? Or you can just say your candid opinion about the paper that you don't want to say in the review to not be too harsh with the authors. So some common questions that we got over the years. Should I be fully confident in the paper topics for reviewing? I mean, it depends. It depends. Maybe you may not be an expert in the technical details, for example, but you may be an expert in the field, so you can still judge the significance of the work, even if you cannot really follow the technical details. So it depends. And if you are in doubt, again, use the confidential comments for the board. So sometimes, I mean, now again with ChatGPT and all these AI tools, maybe this again is less of an issue, but for many years, sometimes we are getting papers with a bad English, let's say. Okay? So what should you do? So again, if the paper is really not understandable because the language is so bad that you cannot follow, then this is a flaw, and it is a major flaw. If the paper is written in a poor English, you can still understand it. It's just that the authors are not native speakers, so they cannot write like a native speaker. Then this is not a major flaw, and you cannot reject the paper because of this. Okay? And now, of course, with all the AI tools, I think this problem has completely disappeared. How much time should I invest in a review? So it depends on a lot of factors. If you are young, experienced, if it is a conference, a journal. I think that for me, when I was young, maybe I could invest 1 or 2 days in a review. And then with time, you learn, you get more experience, and you can get away maybe with half a day, 1 day. So should I change my review standard based on the conference and journal of the paper? Yes. So of course, between conference and journals, there is a difference. I mean, the bar is higher for journals than conferences. So you should also judge a paper based on this bar. And in general, conferences, you send work that maybe may not be completely finalized, but it's still of interest for the community, while for a journal, in general, you expect work that is finalized, with a proper also maybe validation. Okay. Anyway, in case of doubt, always check, discuss with the editor. You can send an email, you can express your doubts. It's always a good practice to do some iteration and discussion with the editor that sent you the review. How long the review process takes? It depends. So for large conferences like IGRA, it takes forever because we submit the paper when it is mid of September and we receive the results end of January, something like that. So it's true, it takes forever. I've never been in the editorial committee in the SEB of ICRA, but I imagine that they get so many submissions that this is the time it takes, unfortunately, for unless at some point the system is changed. But in the way it is now, yeah, I don't know how many submissions they're getting, 6,000, something like that. So it takes it is a huge effort. Now for journals, actually, it's the review cycle could be shorter. For example, for RAL, it is 2 months. For TRO, it is 3 months. The problem there are the reviewers. So in general, so the problem for delays is that the typical case, the reviewer either doesn't accept, and it takes a lot of time for finding reviewers, or the reviewers accept, but then it doesn't deliver, and it never informs the editor that he or she will not have time. So you wait until the deadline, the review doesn't come, and then the reviewer disappears or whatever. And then you must start with another reviewer, and then of course this takes time. So this is really the number one reason why the decisions take time. So it is our responsibility as a community to be reliable, and then we will see that also the decisions will come faster. So, but LLM, the previous presentation already talked about it. What didn't you think about when reviewing for the first time? I mean, me, again, as every younger student, I think I was completely focused on the technical details, but I was not able to judge at all the significance. So I just, was praising the math or the math part of the paper, which is not the best, practice, but you learn with age, we'll say. So if you have a field, a paper which is about in this interdisciplinary research, how should I do? It is not your problem in the sense this is the editor job to invite the right set of reviewers, maybe one reviewer per subtopic, and then you revise your part. How to end the conflict of interest? Every journal conference has its own policy. And if you check the websites, there should be a policy that clearly states what constitutes a conflict of interest for that journal conference. In case of doubt, always check with the editor. You express your doubts, and then the editor will tell you if it is a COI or not. Okay? And if you have a suspicion of plagiarism, how should you do it? How can you approach the authors? Because it's a very, very delicate point. For me, unless you're really certain, you can really point to a paper which is clearly copy-pasted in that paper, at least unless the case is crystal clear. For me, the good solution is to use the confidential comments. There you state your doubts, and then the editorial board will take over. Okay? Yeah, and then the last point, why the process takes so long? Again, it takes, it's not so long in the sense that it can range from 6 to 9 months for journals and for large journals. And also consider that this whole process is on voluntary work. So we all work for free. Reviewers, accreditators, editors, we work for free on our free time. Okay? And so we do what we can. But again, the main source of delay are the reviewers themselves. Again, I say it one more time, it's ourselves when we don't submit our reviews, and this creates a lot of noise and issues in the system. Okay, so this concludes my talk, and yeah.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Actually, as far as I got, you are also on holidays, so thank you very much for your time today. Actually, we are a bit running out of time. So I want to share with you some remarks. Then we will leave some time for questions. So thank you very much again to everyone for joining this event. We were very happy because we had a pretty large audience, and I hope that it was informative and useful for all of us. As I said in the beginning, the video recordings and the slides will be made available after the event. So we will publish them on our website. We will send you the email with the recap and so on. So no worries, because you will be able to see again the content that we show today again. If you have any questions, please contact at this email here. So ras-youngerprogram.tripoli.org. If you have any technical issue with the website, you can please contact us at the Gmail here. I will not say it because it's a bit more complex. And as you said before, you can register to the Young Reviewer Program website, both of you, if you are a junior reviewer or a senior reviewer, in the following links. So you can, I don't know, screenshot this slide, but again, it will be available with all the recordings and all the information. We will provide you with everything. No worries. I wanted also to remind you okay, why is not working? Okay, the event at ICRA 26. So if you plan to join ICRA 26, I think it will be very interesting to join also this workshop on Monday, June 1st, the Good Reviewer, with again some very nice and important speakers, and we will have a very nice and interesting discussion on the reviews topics, and that's it. So thank you very much again. We will leave now some time for the questions. I guess you can raise your hand if you have a question, and then one by one, as soon as we have time, let's say, we will try to address your your issue and so on. So we may do it, I don't know, 5-10 minutes, depending also on how many questions you have, if you have questions. Otherwise, we have been even too clear. And again, as I said before, you can contact us. I provide you with the email addresses. Actually, I can also copy and paste them in the chat. So you have them.
There are already 3 questions in the chat.
Okay. In the chat. Okay, that's also good. Oof. Why so big? I don't know. Baba. Anyway. Okay, so first question from Carlo. Is there any word for a review, like discount voucher? That was the original plan, let's say, to have rewards for reviewers. So when we create the program, let's say, that was one of the things we wanted to do. Actually, we discussed it many times with Marco. At the moment, we don't have anything planned, but also because, let's say, that we launched this new version of the website and this new cycle to renew a bit the program and see if more people will join it and use it and so on. But this is actually something we can consider in the short term. So we will probably discuss this with Marco and the rest of the team in the future and consider it, and we will give you updates on that. I hope that this answer to your question, Carlo. Then second question from Rabie, I hope I pronounce it correctly. If the paper preprint can be found on archive, when they violate the double-blind assumption. So, honestly, maybe you know something better than me, Marta. So
actually, the guideline says that you can upload the manuscript on platforms such as Archive. So it's the rule says that is the reviewer that should not search for the paper online. So yes, partially maybe you can recognize the authors, but on the other hand, it's also on the reviewer side not to search for the paper online. So it is not considered a violation of this policy.
Okay, thank you very much, Marta. Another question from the audience. Will these reviews be a one-time feedback, or do the junior reviewers have access to the revisions as well? I'm not sure I got what you mean. One-time feedback. So the feedback that you provide on the website is one feedback per reviewer. As Marco was mentioning before, you can add the list of the paper you and the senior reviewer are collaborating on together. And so it's a kind of incremental feedback. So whenever you review a paper, you have a feedback, but then you do another paper, the senior reviewer change the feedback based on this new experience. So, I mean, as I said, it's an incremental one. The junior reviewer have access to the feedback? I think so, Marco.
Yes,
Okay.
the junior reviewer has access to the feedback provided to him by all the senior reviewers who they have worked with. Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Marco. I hope this answer to I'm sorry, to your question. Another one, what is the criteria for junior reviewer selection, and if there is any publication required for junior reviewer? So as I mentioned during my presentation, but maybe it was too brief. Basically, anyone can be a junior reviewer. So as a junior reviewer, you are the one that have to learn how to do reviews. So we don't expect you to have any, previous experience. You may be really a master student that have never read a scientific paper in his or her own life, but also you may have some experience with reviewing, but as soon as you want to improve it, you may apply as a junior reviewer. So we don't have criteria. Anyone can be a junior reviewer. We have criteria for senior reviewer. Because when a senior reviewer apply to the program, we want them to prove the fact that they have done a significant number of reviews in order to be considered senior. And as a general rule, let's say that if you have a PhD already, we expect that you have, a quite good experience with the review. If you are still doing your PhD, maybe it's a bit more doubtful, but I mean, if you're able to provide a list of review that you have been done, you may be considered as well. So this is more or less the criteria. Next question. I have reviewed for RAL paper. Do I still qualify as a junior reviewer? I would say this is the borderline case because 5 RAL is actually a good number of paper, but maybe you need to do some more papers in order to be considered senior. Unfortunately, I would like to know in person all the senior reviewer and judge them with a nice chat to understand if they, let's say, have enough experience, but in this way the program will be very slow. So I would say maybe 5 is not enough. I would say try to review some more paper if you reach 10 as a general rule. 10, let's say, paper that are considered high rank paper in our community. So if you, for example, review 10 RAL, I think you are eligible to be a senior reviewer. So maybe you just you have to work a bit more. But thank you for asking. Financial payment to reviewer would cause the peer review process to have better quality. That's a tricky question because, if you start paying people for doing reviews, it may end up that people, just because they want to be paid, start doing a lot of reviews, but this will probably lower the quality of the review instead of increasing them. So for sure, we would be happy to receive some money for doing review, but unfortunately, not all the people have, let's say, good intention all the time. So it's a pretty risky thing to do. in my opinion. But I mean, there are different opinions on that. I don't think there is a absolute question. I don't know if Marco, you want to add something on the top.
Yeah, I agree with you, Marta. It is it usually causes debate, but I am also of the opinion that it may not be a good thing.
Yeah, so unfortunately, nobody will pay us soon for doing reviews. Sorry for that. Okay, it seems that we answered to some of your questions and we are already a bit out of time. So I think this, I mean, we can end up the event here. Again, I want to thank you very much for attending this nice event. I want to thank all the presenters. So thank you, Marco, Marta, and Paolo for helping me in hosting this nice event. I hope it was useful and interesting for most of you, and I hope to see you soon in conferences or whatever RAS or other events. And thank you. Have a nice evening, and talk to you soon.